Yes, people, welcome to LFC Red Forever channel. We're doing another episode of Let's Talk LFC. So this episode is 34. Obviously, we've done loads more before with different people and all that. And we've got a few new people in here as well. That's going to be coming up very, very soon. We're going to be discussing, obviously, the preview of Liverpool versus Wolverhampton. You know, the loss like 3-0 to Wolverhampton. And we're going to be talking about what's happening around the football world at the moment as well, and what's next for Liverpool. So let me bring in the lads. Obviously, everybody knows, you know, the man, the legend to be, taking over YouTube.
I'm just pouring my beer in my lovely Liverpool glass.
Taking over the Liverpool, you know, streams and all that stuff. The man from For the Reds, that's Ryan, man. What's going on, brother?
Oh, you just got me there when I sipped some froth. And right down my throat. I'm all good, mate. Obviously, you know my personal occasions and why I'm drinking beer on a Monday night. So, no, it's all good. I mean, apart from the Reds being shit, other than that, it's all good.
We're garbage, man. We're absolutely garbage at the moment. We've got a newcomer. Me and Ryan know him, of course, from Spaces, and he's joined the channel, obviously from today. So please welcome him in, and that's Raphael. Raphael's here. Raphael, what's going on, brother? From America. I'm telling you, man. Like, you know, sometimes when I have it's like a debate with Raphael. I just hope I don't lose like badly. He's that good, man. He's very knowledgeable about Liverpool. I'm in England and he's more knowledgeable than me, man. What's going on?
Nothing much, man. I'm a research nerd for football, dude. I love the sport. I breathe it.
Yeah.
I don't have enough on my side of the pond to talk, so I love to reach out to my homies across, man.
Yeah. So let's start, because I've come on a little bit late. So we're going to be talking about the first one is obviously Liverpool versus Wolverhampton. So let's go on with that. Yes, guys, this game wasn't pretty. From what I've seen, obviously, I was doing a live watch along, and I was devastated, guys. You know, like with me and Liverpool, our relationship is like I will accept many things, losing, winning, drawing, whatever way you put it, I'll accept it. But when the players are not trying anymore, that's when I, you know, reach the limit of, you know, it's unacceptable. It's unacceptable what we've seen in that game, and the goals we conceded as well. It was like put on a plate for these guys. Like you might as well just open the door and let every team in to score those kind of goals. You know what I mean? And it's what's frustrating is like I can't see any other win coming in the next games. If you know what I mean. So Ryan, take it away, bro. Like, what do you think, man?
I think you spot on, Fuzz, about the win. I was looking at the fixture list after the Wolves game, so I thought, when are we going to get back on the horse, kind of thing? And genuinely, the only fixture where I think will not guaranteed, but I give us like a 70-80% chance to win is Nottingham Forest on April 22nd at home, and that is literally it. And I think you're right as well, in the sense of you've got players that aren't doing enough. I get the argument of the mental drain, the mental side, and even Klopp said this in his press conference, didn't he? He was like, that was ages ago. Yeah. You know, losing the Champions League final, losing the Premier League, it was ages ago. If you want to be an elite winner and you want to be an elite sports person, you have to dust setbacks off. Sometimes it can take a little bit longer, of course, but you cannot dwell on it for over 6 months. And what I saw on Saturday just epitomised to me, like, you've got people there who are just letting the gaffer down so much. And I think he alluded to it, didn't he, in his press conference when he said that big changes need to come straight away for the next game. And it's a shame because he doesn't deserve it. And it's a shame because I also don't think the players are doing it.
I don't think that they're as bad as what's showing on the pitch. I don't think they're as bad as that.
I don't think the lads are doing it on purpose. I don't think the purpose to being like, oh, you know, let's get at Klopp. I don't think they've lost the dressing room. Mm-hmm. I just think there's something as a collective of us at the club at the moment that is just stopping us from really getting ourselves into gear. Like, Wolves have scored 12 goals all season, man. Scored 3 against us. Like, come on.
It's crazy, man. It's frustrating, man. Raphael, what do you think, bro? Like, I know you do a lot of analysis about the games, but what do you think? Like, what's going on, bro? Like, what can we do next to get the team going again?
It's one of those situations where I think it's easy to get down like across. Like, if you're part of the club right now, it's in a very unstable setting. And I think we're at a place where players don't really know who to trust in terms of like on the pitch. There's doubts behind the scenes. There's a lot coming undone behind the scenes, and we're just seeing some of the results of it on the pitch. And I think it's the complexity of weighing what's going on off the pitch of well with the regression that we've noticed with an older squad. And I'm still a firm believer. The fact the way FSG moved with the sell to buy model, the COVID season impacted a lot of teams across the board. And where FSG failed to make a difference is when the FFP got relaxed, we didn't start making moves like other clubs. We started sticking to our sell to buy model. And that's what partially screwed us, because based upon that sell to buy model, a lot of players that after winning the league, they could have went elsewhere. Like Lallana went on a free, but I could have seen Ox being sold that season. We even sold Lovren that season. And like a lot of the dead wood we weren't able to shift, and we haven't been really able to shift it since.
Do you think our ego got too big, Raf? I saw someone on Twitter the other day saying that Liverpool's ego got too big and they were demanding far too higher prices for these fringe players. Do you think our ego got too big, or do you think we were just thinking like, no, we can play the market like a fiddle kind of thing?
Yeah, I think it's a situation where we got a bit too big, but also we wanted to get the most out of the situation that we were in. I think we kind of got to, once you're known in the market for fleecing people for like, I mean, when you Solanke, Jordan Ibe, people get hesitant to do business with you because like they think you're just going to take the piss and rake them over the coals. And I think that made a lot of clubs hesitant to even like inquire about our players, because if you start thinking about it, like a 15 to 20 million pound evaluation on Nat Phillips, and then turning down the 15 to 12 million dollar bid from Burnley, like I would have snapped a hand off on the time game.
I think you're right on that, Raf. Once clubs saw that we got £25 million for Ryan Brewster, a player that played less than 10 games for us, like, come on. Do you know what I mean? Like, clubs are going to look at that and think.
And don't forget at that time, a lot of rival fans were saying we're robbing teams, like with the actual prices we're asking for those players.
Listen, we were getting $6 million for Brad Smith. We got $15 million for Danny Ward. You know, Jordan Ibe as well. Jordan Ibe. Michael Edwards was getting ridiculous money for players that were no good whatsoever. But when you're doing something like that, you need to know that isn't sustainable for a long time. That's never going to stick around. People are going to figure you out. So, what's your backup plan for when people figure you out? We've not had a backup plan under FSG. It has been sell to buy, and that is it.
Exactly, and it's costing us immensely right now. And big up, Uncle Rods, man. Big up, man. Thank you for coming on, brother. Thank you. Yeah, I've said it, like, you know, during that pandemic season, you know, the season after we won the league, it was going to cost us a lot, and it has. And now we're suffering the brunt of it, you know what I mean? And we can't recover because we haven't signed the right players with that module, you know, with that the FSG way of like thinking, and it's not paying off anymore. Because how can I say it? Like, they put people on furlough because they can't get anything out of their pocket. And so it's tough for them to spend during the actual COVID. Then you're not going to get players, are you, Ryan? You're not going to
No. So
that's what's happened. And injuries happened around the same time. which cost us on the pitch because we couldn't even get players on the pitch to compete with the likes of City. We was top of the league until January, mate. If we had money and spent on centre backs, we might have actually competed with the likes of with City, because that league was won by 86 points, if you remember. It wasn't 90 points anymore. It was won by 86 points.
Well, that's the thing, Fuzz. We wanted Ibrahim Konate. We couldn't get him in because he was injured. And also they wanted a fair big premium on top of it. Sound. All right, no worries. But we needed more than just Ibu. It needed to be Ibu and another centre half. So whoever that other centre half was, we should have just brought that in January. And then we tried that. Try it before you buy it with Ozan Kabak. And then we spent some money on Ben Davies to make £2-3 million profit. Penny pinching to get £2-3 million profit. And we're Liverpool Football Club. Come on.
And what's going back to that January window where they waited the last day to bring Ben Davies and Kabak in, it makes me think about if they would have followed through with their first mind, because Ben Davies was just a drop of a hat. That really didn't change the balance sheet either which way. But I'm not sure if a lot of people knew, but the center back that's at Southampton right now, Desh Collector Car.
For Marcel, wasn't he? For Marcel.
Marseille. The original plan, from what I heard, was to bring in Collector Sarr as well as Kabak. To bring in two center halves, to pair with Reece Williams, as well with Nat Phillips. And I think if we would have bought Broten and signed Collector Sarr and let Kabak go and then still got Ibu in the summer, that would have been perfect, because I think we've held on to Joel Matip for 2 seasons too long.
Yeah. But Raf, how have we repeated it? How did we get to the summer window and then get Arthur Miller on loan? How are we making the same mistakes over and over and over again?
Yeah, and
it's mental.
What's interesting, because this is something I've noticed, for a track record for a couple of different transfer windows for us, and also different teams who run into injury issues. So if you notice, last season, Chelsea had a crazy injury crisis, right? Both wing backs out. And it's one thing to say, okay, they'll come back and let's prepare and stock the team where we have shortages. Not only did they fill the gaps, but they also they almost overreacted and got a lot of cover everywhere. So another injury crisis can't really put them in that situation again.
Yeah.
FSG have never overreacted to bad things happening at Liverpool. It's always been, okay, let's see if we can right the course. And then if we can't, we'll just count our losses and try to repair what damages we have. Yeah. And that's always been the case, because if you think about it, and this season, in some aspects, their negligence in the transfer window very much is similar to the 2021 season, but I think the 2021 season is worse because at that time we were at the top of the table.
Yeah.
And we literally blew a league title because we didn't want to add another center half.
Yeah. Center half,
Pay a bit of money for a center half.
Right. Yeah. And even in that summer, we didn't even overly correct the issue, because what sense would it have made if we would have went and we signed Ibu? That was fine. Even if we would have got us one center back and one midfielder that window, I feel like that completely changed the trajectory of last season. And then this season, it puts us on a completely different situation because there's another midfielder to work into the team.
Raphael, don't you think they're over-reliant on the manager? Because, he could work miracles, innit? So they think they could get away. They took risks in the past. They thought they could continue with that. And then he might get us through and winning the league again. You know what I mean? For what he's done in the past.
Agreed. It was a match made in heaven when FSG first landed Klopp, and it worked out perfect. But I think Klopp is also the victim of his own preference, because Klopp has reiterated multiple times. Granted, we don't know if he's done this to save FSG, but he's reiterated multiple times that he prefers a smaller squad. Yeah. And he talks about Guardiola in the aspect of, he has a lot more people to manage.
He says that a lot,
Right. So I think it's the lack of backing by FSG is absolutely an issue, but it's partially Klopp's preference, because there's been multiple occasions we've been offered players who would be a phenomenal squad addition that we just don't move to because he prefers to control things a little bit more. That's why he prefers a lot of tactically flexible players, so he can have what's almost like a false sense of squad depth, because you have one player who can play 2 or 3 roles in your current team, which is why we're looking for a guy who can play right center mid and DM, rather than getting a right center mid and a DM. So it's interesting the way Klopp likes his player structure. He likes players who can play multiple roles. Sometimes he likes to hamstring them in one role, but sometimes he likes to spread them across and let them be almost like wild cards.
Yeah, that's true. Because not only that, like on Twitter Spaces, like a lot of people say he's used to that working man midfield and all this stuff. And I keep correcting them. You was there, Rafael, yesterday. I said, no. If you look at the Dortmund days, he had technical players. You look at Kagawa, you look at Mkhitaryan, you look at Shaheen, you look at Gundogan, all those players. Yeah, they're all technical players. He can work with technical players. But the thing is, everybody talks about like he runs these players to the ground. I think because of that season we won the league, the season we won the league, he wanted to go to the technical side of things as well as having the running man midfield, so he could have a mixture of them in certain games. But because of the pandemic, it just didn't go through, and obviously the owners didn't want to spend around that time. That's what hampered the actual movement of Liverpool progressing to where they want to be. Do you understand what I was trying to say, guys? So
absolutely.
we faced a hurdle in order for us to get where the destination is, which is like dominance and then winning the league on a continuous basis. That's what hampered the team, in my opinion, from what I've seen. And that's Liverpool Football Club, isn't it, Ryan and Rafael? When we have a tragedy, it takes us a while to recover from things like that.
It takes a while to adjust.
I mean, and that's how I see it when I look into that. There was a hurdle that stopped our progression to where we wanted to be. So this is what I put up. Obviously, this is the formation we played against Wolverhampton. Were you happy with the starting lineup, Rafael? Did you?
To be honest, I think what he's doing with Bajcetic right now is kind of what he did with Nico Williams, which I think stunted his growth a little bit. And I think now it's time to bring Hendo or Fab back into that 6th row. Ideally Fab.
I agree.
But Fab didn't even make the squad, so I have no clue what's going on there. But I don't want.
I think they said he was an injured.
He said he was ill, but I don't know if I buy that or not.
Yeah, I just don't want. I think Bajcetic is actually a very, very good player and has so much potential, but I do not want him to get exposed too soon.
Exactly. You know what I like about him, Rafael? Like, he's different to the midfield we've got. He's more like dynamic. I don't know like how to word it. Like when he gets the ball, he doesn't do the same thing that other players do. Like go one direction and then persist with that direction instead of like going the other way. He goes the other way. You get me? He goes that way and this way, which I like about him.
He's
but at the end of
he's a bit more press resistant than what we have. But I find it interesting because Tyler Morton's on loan at Blackburn, and he's having a really solid season right now. But I think what's kind of a bit of a parody for me is Bajcetic seems more of like a dribbler who's very abreast with the ball at his feet.
Yeah.
And with Morton, at Blackburn, he's played the 6, he's played center half, he's played a deep line playmaker, he's played more of a box-to-box 8. Yeah. And to me, it's almost like long-term, he's grooming this team for this double pivot.
Yeah.
Because I think and this is a very big what if the trajectory of Morton and Bajcetic continues on that path, they would be a beautiful double pivot pairing. And when I start to think about it, his alignment of like targets that he's moved towards are starting to point towards that. But the only caveat to that is Jude. Jude is the perfect 8 for a 3-man midfield.
I think he plays Jude in the 10 though, Raf, because I was doing a little bit of research the other day about Jude and how they've set him up different this season at Germany. in the Bundesliga. Because obviously he's added goals this season to his game, but like ridiculous amounts of volume of goals. And I read this article. I think it might have been from Jan. You know, the guy who does all the interviews with the players after games and stuff.
Yeah,
the long-haired fella.
Yeah, Jan
he used to play for Frankfurt, didn't he? And he was on about Dortmund this season have deployed a defensive-minded player behind Jude on his side, so Jude can just go and stay as close to the opposition box as possible. And then they did a video about it a couple of weeks ago, and I think that's the long-term plan for Liverpool. I think the idea next season is to try and have a Thiago and a Kone or a Caicedo, you know, that type of double pivot, and let Jude, Salah, Diaz, Nunes all just go and press and create from the front. Because I think you're right, Raf. I think the long-term evolution 100%. Of this team is either a 4-2-4 or a 4-2-3-1. You know, we slightly play with a double pivot now because Thiago drops deep as a left centre mid. So it's not too dissimilar. It just requires better players on the right-hand side and the number 10 side. That's all.
Right.
Yeah, I agree 100%. But and not only that, if you look at the age of the squad, it's coming down now, isn't it? It's coming down gradually, so that's exciting for the future. And if we add some more quality players within the 25 age, you know what I mean, mark, with the youngsters that's coming through, you know, like the future looks bright for the team because we will have the current and the future coming through at the same time, if you know what I mean. So once those players eventually like get to the 30s, these youngsters are gonna come through and take over, and that's the way to go in football. I mean, that's how we used to do in the 80s and 70s, and I agree with that kind of thing. Especially like what's happening in football now, like people are overspending money they don't supposed to be spending. We're gonna come on to that in a minute, and if we're fully prepared, you know what I mean, for that, maybe this is why the owners are quiet about it. Maybe they knew these things are gonna come in the near future, as we were speaking about earlier, Ryan. Maybe this is why they're not saying anything. And listen, with that team I put up this, I was happy with it. I didn't really say anything bad about it, and I was hoping that Darwin Núñez plays up front, which he did. He missed a couple of opportunities. That's becoming a norm now. He needs to start finishing his chances off, guys. I'm being serious now, because like if we don't get goals, we're not going to win games, are we? So he needs to start doing that. And what's upsetting about this is we wanted these players to play, but they didn't have the determination to win this game. And it's not like we're facing a team that's dominant and winning games on a consistent basis. Wolves are in a bad run themselves, you know what I mean? And they beat us by 3-0, and it was deserved. That's what pisses me off more than anything, guys. So what do you think, Ryan? Like, how can we move forward from this? Do we still persist with these players, or do you want to get the youth players in and just mix it up?
Well, I think first of all, I was happy with 90% of the team. The only one 95, whatever it is. The only one I wanted Mo Salah rested. I thought Harvey Elliott's in decent form from the right wing. Added goals. Obviously had a decent game away at the Molineux, but also more importantly, you then have an angry but also rested Mo Salah for the derby. So I personally, that was the only change I'd have made, and I think he deserves the time off because he's just not playing well enough at the moment.
The last time he took time off was against Rangers, isn't it? Then he came back as a sub and scored a hat-trick, you know what I mean?
Came on, scores a hat-trick.
And then I think he scored after that as well, the games after that or something.
Yeah, City, yeah. An angry Mo Salah is a good Mo Salah.
I've said this for a while, yes.
And at the moment, he doesn't. I don't feel like he regards himself as one of the best players in the world anymore, like he used to. And two, the anger at the moment is directed towards the stuff inside the club rather than oppositions and opponents.
Ryan, do you think that he was made promises that hasn't been fulfilled? Do you think that's what's happened with him when he signed that contract?
I think players out of that leadership group and the manager have all been promised things and they've not been delivered. I think investment and even a potential takeover was supposed to be ready for this point, and it's not come to fruition. And I point back to those Klopp press conferences before the World Cup, and it was the happiest I've ever seen him in a press conference, as if something was ready to happen. And then we came back from the World Cup, we beat Villa, and he didn't have the same order about him. And now you're seeing him snapping presses and stuff like that, and something has gone drastically wrong behind closed doors. But obviously we'll get on to that. But coming back to the selection, I'm I agree with what I think Klopp is going to do and what Klopp said after the Wolves game. Big changes need to happen. Really big changes. On Monday night, I am not asked about your quality on the ball because the quality we've got on the ball right now is fucking shite anyway. The only thing I want to see on Monday night is 11 lads run through absolute brick walls and burn their lungs to the ground just for that football team in a Merseyside derby. That is all I want to see. If that means the likes of Curtis Jones, Fabio Carvalho, Ben don't need to come in, then by my judgment, that's all fine. Because ultimately, you can go and put those 11 out there right now that aren't doing the hard work, but also aren't providing the quality, and lose the game, 2-0, 2-1, whatever. You could put a different 11 out, still lose the game, but have some form of positivity to run with. Some kind of fight. The most important thing to do when you're at home in any form of derby is get your fans on side early doors. Get your fans on side. Get them up for it. And Everton, United, whoever it is, we've seen it under the Rodgson era, or even the Hodgson era. We've still put these teams to the sword with some terrible Liverpool teams down the years, just because of fight, desire, and the fans being on side. Form and football goes out of the window in Merseyside and Manchester derbies. So if it's 11 lads who are willing to run through brick walls for us today, the manager, the fans who are in the ground, then I'm happy. I'm content with whatever happens. 100%. Whereas if it's the same 11 and it's the same crap and it's 2-0 defeat, 2-1 defeat, 1-0 defeat, 1-1 draw, whatever it is, but I see the same shit again, I'm me, Foz. I'm Mr. Positive as much as I can be. But even I'll get to a point that I don't know how I can defend you anymore.
It's the ease of the goals as well, brother. You know what I mean? Same goes for you,
bro. That
Raphael.
First goal, come on.
Yeah.
What is that first goal? What is that first goal? I've literally watched. I've watched their new signing for PSG pick up the ball. Thiago and all of us just watch him 30 yards away from him. Just watch him touch, clip the ball over the top. All right, Sound, you've clipped the ball over the top. Joel Matip, come and sweep that up, get tight to the striker. Joel then goes and then steps off for no apparent reason, by the way, because there was no one behind Matip. Just steps on, steps off, then doesn't even close the front post off. It hits him, bang, goal. And the whole goal was like a summary of our football and a summary of our season.
Yeah.
Everything we are terrible at literally happened in 30 seconds, and I'm getting angry now.
Yeah, Raphael, the same goes for you, mate. Like, do we persist with this team, or do we try?
I think you got to make some changes. And honestly, my opinion, I don't know if Klopp's gonna make this move and do this, but I think I could see Nat Phillips coming into the team. And
would you guys prefer that though? Would you guys prefer
100%,
that?
100%.
I feel like the profile of player Nat is like he likes a scruff, he likes to tackle, he's gonna give his all 100% when he's on the pitch. Yeah. And I can't believe I'm gonna say this, but I think Henderson comes back into the team too. No, seriously though, I genuinely do, just because of how
he's not making any impact as a sub, is he, Raphael?
No, but see, I also noticed this with our older midfielders besides Thiago and Naby. They tend, I put it like this, exclusively Hendo and Fab. They are so underwhelming in sub appearances, but it's like they're momentum building players. If they start the game on a decent foot, they'll build momentum throughout the game. If they start the game terrible, it's just going to be downhill from there. And so I think getting Hendo back into the team, and I feel like the midfield is going to be a lot more complex than people think, because.
Do you think you might go 4-2-3-1 in this game, Raph?
I could see it
from the off 4-2-3-1, because I've said I think it'll be a Bajcetic Keita double pivot. I think he's willing to pull Thiago out. I think he was really that pissed off with them.
Yeah, a lot of people, like I said to you Ryan earlier, like a lot of people criticize people that's having a go at Thiago. I don't know you was there, Raphael, in that space. It was horrible to see. I think one of the guys said that in the last few games, I think Thiago's been terrible, and then he just got attacked left, right, and centre. But he's right. Thiago hasn't done anything.
Thiago has this weird thing of when it's kind of calm at the back and the other team is getting ready to sit back a bit,
Yes.
he dribbles a bit too much and gives the ball away, and they're back on the front foot. And it's like, you would think with his experience at his age, when to diffuse the game, man. And he doesn't at times. So I definitely could see him being dropped. I wouldn't be surprised if we see him go to a 4-2-3-1. The only question is, I don't understand who he's trust in the 10 right now.
Yeah.
That's the only question. And I could see Harvey slotting in there because of his form recently. I could also see him trying to shoehorn Gakpo in there.
There's Carvalho as well.
Because he'd probably ask them to push up, to be fair, to be like a 4-2-4.
Yeah.
Gakpo's plays central, so I guess it's just a case of just drop off a little bit, come and receive the ball in pockets. But I just feel like the way he was speaking after that Wolves game, like when he was saying big changes need to happen straight away, it's like, well,
that's out of his character, isn't it, Ryan? He never normally says that.
Out of his character. But as we all wonder, what are the big changes? Is it personnel? Is it formation? Is it style? Is it system? Is it is it all of them put into one? Like, what are the big changes he's alluding to? Because I don't know about you boys, but I think that's probably the angriest I've ever seen him whilst he's been at Liverpool. Like out there in the press, obviously he's been angry at times in games and things, but I've never seen him. Like, we've seen him have a little go at journalists and stuff like that in the past. And there was one, obviously, around when the Sun journalist was going to put out about Lovren cheating on his wife. And that's justified, that sound. Whereas this was unprompted. This was literally just James Pearce just asking a question.
Wow.
And he was just like, nah, fuck off, I'm not talking to you. And it was like why are you so angry? Like, how can you snap like that? So there's clearly something.
Yeah,
and you would be though, wouldn't you? Like if you two were in Klopp's shoes now, and you've got players who you've bent over backwards for, and
that's what we're coming into next. That's what we're coming into next.
Yeah,
so let me just put it up. Let's put it up.
Go on.
Yeah. So as you can see by the title, it says. Are the players playing for Klopp? A lot of questions like that have been asked around the Twitter circle, as both of you know about that. Has he lost the dressing room, Raphael?
That's hard to say. I won't say he's completely lost the dressing room, but I say the dressing room is split. I think part of the frustration is transfers within the squad, because I think part of the reason why we got like someone like Mo Salah to extend was because he said they probably pushed him with the approach of, we can't give you the full 400, 450 you want, because we want to continue to build the team. So the money that you won't be getting will just go to other people in the wage budget. And I think that's part of the reason that was sold to him. And I also think, like I said, I feel like there's the divisive two groups in the team. There's a group of the team that wants to play for the gaffer, but the issue is they don't have the quality, and the team and the branch of the team that has the quality, they're just not up for it right now. And you have this weird mix of, do I put the guys on the pitch who have the quality but are lazy, or do I put the guys who are mistake prone but have the passion? And it sucks because you're not picking the best situation. You're just picking the lesser of two evils.
Yeah.
100%. What do you think, Ryan? Do you think he lost the dressing room?
No, I agree with Raf. I don't think they've lost the dressing room in the sense of, they've lost it for Klopp. I think there's a lot of mitigating circumstances to obviously our on the pitch performances and stuff like that, and it's never good when you're part of a club where there's leaks week in, week out about certain coaching staff getting too much responsibility, and certain medical staff apparently hard to deal with, and those kind of things are never good when you're a player, and they can start to divide dressing rooms, because players will be like, right, well, who's, is it one of us who's leaking it? It's difficult. It's difficult, and I think you have got a split in the dressing room, and like Rav says, I don't think it's a split where they've chose to do it. I don't think Henderson and Fabinho have gone, right, well, we're not in the squad, so we're going to get dead angry at those that are in the squad. I think it's just becoming a bit of a natural divide because you've got players who will, in the back of their mind, know they're probably not good enough anymore. You've got youngsters coming through who are thinking, well, you're not playing very well and I want to go. You've got players like Curtis Jones, Fabio Carvalho, who are probably thinking, like, what more can I do? You've got players like Calvin Ramsey who are putting in performances for doing the 23s but aren't even making the match day squad. And these questions are asked when you're in bad form, because ultimately when you're in bad form, those players that want their chance ask the question, and the manager can't turn around and go, well, they're winning week in, week out, so you can't get picked, mate.
Exactly.
The manager can't say that anymore. The manager can't turn around and go. I think that's why Bajcetic has got in, because there's only so long you can keep refusing someone knocking at your door, and there's only so long you can come up with excuses. And then you get to that point, and you're like, you know what, lad, you're bang on. Fab's playing terrible. Henderson's really struggling. You've been knocking on my door for weeks now, Sal. We'll go and give you the go, and it's worked out. But Bajcetic won't be the only one. Do you know what I mean? Curtis Jones will be having that same conversation. Exactly. Fabio Carvalho will be wondering why he's not getting in. Ben Doak, even at 17, is probably having a few words of being like, give me a chance here, kind of thing. So that creates a natural divide, because the youngsters are wanting to go and eat the old players alive. Do you know? And it's just a natural course of sport at the end of the day.
It's like what Pep Guardiola said. Same question was put on to Pep Guardiola. Like he says, like, you guys heard it, innit? When he said you got to keep refreshing, because if you keep the same players around the actual squad, it doesn't develop into something else. You know what I mean? Because the players will get a big head. They think they need more wages. They're gonna do this. They're gonna do that. He said, and the hunger will disappear at the same time as well. So that's why he says he keeps refreshing, because if you bring new players in, they know what we normally do. They know our objectives, our targets. Where to go next to win the title or to win the Champions League. So if you keep doing that, this is what, when you become style, that's what happens. Like, we've got the same. If you look at 1992, 1991, I think 91, 92, the similar thing happened to Liverpool, guys. I think you guys are young, innit? We did the same thing. We didn't get rid of the old players and bring new players in. We've had the same players that we had in the 80s, in the 90s. That's why we were stuck and we didn't improve. If you get what I'm saying. So we've been trying 30 years to come back to where we was, because we made those mistakes that we didn't refresh the squad like we used to do in the past. What we used to do in the past is we buy players similar to the players on the pitch. We stick them in the reserves for 1 year or two to learn that position. They obviously come in and out of the first team, and then eventually take over that player, so you could resell him. He's got resale value to get rid of him. If you get what I mean, guys. That's what we used to do. As soon as came in, he stepped away from that. He wanted to change a lot of stuff, and it just didn't work out. If you know what I mean. And we got stuck with the old players like Young Moby, Ronnie Wheeland, all these old players, and it's just we just didn't move forward. And you can see it's a similarity to this team. Like, we've got too many players at the wrong side of their obviously age, and we're still hoping they could do what they used to do in the past, but it's not coming through.
It can be hard. It can be hard as a coach, and I can speak from my own situation as a coach. You get a certain core of players where you trust them so much that you get to a point where you're like, you become sort of scared of creating new relationships, because you're throwing yourself as a manager and a coach into the wild, because you're like, well, I don't really know them. Can I trust them? And those kind of questions get asked. But what's also important with refreshment, as Pep Guardiola said in his interview, is everyone has to refresh. Your coaching staff, your ideas, your scouts, because you got to think about it. And I alluded to it on another stream with you, Foz, that you're all one big family. You see each other 6 out of the 7 days a week. You spend a lot of time with each other. The only real amount of time where we spend with someone for a long period is probably our missus and probably your best mate. They're probably the two people in your life where you spend a good amount of years with. Everyone else, you tend to refresh. You refresh your friendship group because you go from one job to another. Workplaces, they refresh their staff, because what it does is it stops things from getting stale, but it also stops friction. Because
Yeah.
we all know it. When you spend too much time around someone,
Friction,
start to, it's
builds.
just, it's human nature. Little things just start to annoy you. And it feels like it's getting to that point with Liverpool at the moment, is that we're the same setup as 2017 and we're expecting it to still work. And it's
Still
like,
work,
but there's people in there that are pissed off with each other. And, there's people who are probably a little bit too stale for the job now. And it gets to a point where you're like, right, well, I'm coming into work and it feels like 2017 again. And I don't want it to feel like that. It's a new era. It's a new dawn.
Yeah.
And we've not refreshed, not just the players, we've not refreshed a lot in that period.
Backroom staff, everything,
everything, literally everything.
I think.
Go ahead.
No, carry on, Raphael. Carry on, bro.
What I was gonna say is, I think it kind of points to something that, like, I personally experienced at work. There's like an age profile gap, man. Like, we have like when you look at the number of players that we have between 17 and 23, they're showing great potential, very good young group. Yeah. And then we have a set of players in that 29 to 35 range, solid competitors. Some got quality, some don't. But it's time for like their load to be lightened. And I think some of the younger guys we have in the squad aren't ready to completely take on the addition of that load.
Responsibilities,
Exactly. So it leaves that middle section of the squad, which puts you at like 24 to 28, which falls into Joe Gomez, Diogo, Luis Diaz, Naby Keita. So that next section of the team that should be preparing to take over and be week in and week out starters, they're either injured or not there. And so you're in this weird blend situation where you got the senior players who just can't do it like the way they used to, and the young lads who have the energy but don't have the experience to kind of take over. So we're at that gap where, like, the midfielders and other defenders that we brought in when we started to get these other attackers in would start to be coming through and pushing at the bit to start to take over. But we're not at that case, because look and see exactly what City's done recently. Like, for the longest, they said Laporte's the best center back. John Stone's been there, and then Diaz kind of came and shook things up. Now, when you start to look at that
back on the bench,
Diaz is on the bench. Laporte's injured, and Stones is on the bench. You see Akanji and Ake out there a lot more now, and it's like there's a shift in the age profile. Granted, Diaz is still young. I think he just got dropped for lack of form, but Laporte and Stones are getting up in age where they're still playing and getting a lot of first team minutes, but they're slowly being phased out of their like week in, week out starter roles. Yeah. And this is that transition point where our older players need to start transitioning out. We don't have that age profile across the squad to replace them yet.
I think you're bang on, Raf, aren't you? Because if you look at it, it's such poor planning to have such a small pool of 24 to 28 players to select. If we go through it, we've got Naby Keita 27, Luis Diaz 26, Diogo Jota 25,
26 after.
25, 26, who else have you got?
Costas is 27.
George Gomez
is 27. Joe Gomez 26. 26,
And then Trent.
Trent's 23, coming 24.
No, he's older now, 24,
24,
Yeah, that is such a small pool of players who are supposed to be in their peak, the peaks of their career. Because gone are the days that your peak's 28, 29, by the way. Your peak now is 24 to 28. Like, they are your prime.
That's why Trent developed in it, because he had those kind of ages around him. That's why, even though he was the youngest, he had those experienced players to look up to.
Oh, mate.
Yeah.
I think, didn't we have the third youngest side when we won the Premier League or something like that? Third or fourth youngest side. And now we're on average one of the oldest 11s in the Premier League.
Think about this. When we won the Prem, Milner was the only 30-year-old in the squad.
Yeah.
You're right.
You're right.
Because Lallana's the same age. And then Lovren was like 29.
Yeah.
He was only 30-year-old in the squad, and now we got 5 or 6.
Yeah, majority
Virgil
of the players.
32, Matip 31, Henderson 31, Thiago 30, Mo Salah 31, Bobby Firmino 31.
That's bad. That is bad. That
Like,
is bad.
Adrian 30s. I think Alisson's 28, 29. But
Yeah.
keepers, to be fair, keepers can be exempt from that.
I think he's 30. I think he's in his 30s now.
No, you know, there's 6 or 7 30-year-olds, but these aren't squad players, by the way. These are starters.
These are
The
starters.
starters, man.
You know, and listen, you can have, because if you look at Liverpool's 11 and you were to go and refresh it,
Mm-hmm.
Alisson, 30 years of age, Trent, Ibu, Van Dijk, 30 years of age,
Freaking
Robertson, Thiago, 30 years of age, so there's 3, Caicedo, Salah, 30 years of age, there's 4, Bellingham, Diaz, Nunes. 4 really decent, good, experienced heads is the perfect number of 30-year-olds in your starting 11. And even better, they're all in the different thirds of the pitch. One's a keeper, one's a
not in
defender,
the same
one's a
position,
midfielder,
yeah.
one's an attacker.
Yeah.
Absolutely spot. Ideal. Literally ideal. The issue is we're surrounding them with 30-year-olds. So it's just we're like a fucking we're like a care home trying to play football.
Oh man,
Bad
that's
times.
bad. That's
Bro,
bad.
it's true though. It's the age profile thing, and what's crazy is when you think about it, because even if you go with this whole sell to buy model, we would have bought those same players at 22 through 24,
Mm-hmm.
and you think, and even if you take the last 2 windows out of play, because I feel like they've started to even the last 2 windows they've started to figure out, okay, we got to start rebuilding some of this at some point. So if you go back to the summer that we got Ibu and the every transfer window between that and when COVID hit, that's the lack of investment track record of when we should have started adding more. Because when we went after we won the league, we added Diogo, which was great, and we added Thiago, who was 28 at the time.
Yeah.
So
that was a really good window.
Yeah, it was actually. Yeah.
And to be fair, where we can't beat FSG with it and Klopp with it is, since they clearly realised that a rebuild and an age profile needs to come down, because the signings we've made, as you said, Raf, Luis Diaz 24, Ibu Konate obviously in just early 20s, Darwin Núñez early 20s, Calvin Ramsey 18. So they clearly realised that they need to build something for the here and now and also the future. The issue is, why is it always only one player a window? Why are we only allowed one player of the rebuild every window? Why is it always right? So you want a striker, yeah. You want a midfielder, so you want Cody Gakpo, you need him, sound.
Yeah.
You want a midfielder as well, yeah, sound. We can only have one, and then you go, yeah, but I need 2 really to rebuild this. No. You're allowed 1. That must be a horrible position as a manager to be in. To go, well, again, it's not lesser of 2 evils, because they're not evil, but it is lesser of 2 evils in the sense of like, well, I either get nothing or I get something rather than what I need. It's a horrible situation to be in.
Ryan, but what do rivals do? Like when you're at the top, they make sure those players that they after they get it, no matter what, they have to get those players. But we don't do that.
Arsenal haven't even won the Premier League yet, and they were trying.
And they already
Moises
signed
Caicedo
three players. They signed 3 players, bro.
yeah.
Come on, man.
And listen. Let's not be daft. Arsenal aren't going to sign those players and then be happy with it. They're going to want some return. The owners
Of course,
aren't money out of their own
100%.
pockets. They'll want success, although if they don't get success, they'll go and sell a player to make some back of that money. However, they're willing to take that gamble and then think about the issues
after the consequences after.
Yeah. We're constantly panicking and worrying like, oh no, we can't get a loan. Oh no, we can't get a loan, because what happens if we have to pay that £50 million back? Well, here's one for you. Take it out of the £680 million we make per year. Why don't you take it out of that? They've pulled the wool over people's eyes for too long now.
Listen, I've learned a lot from Raphael when he explains about FSG and their mottos, man. Like when he talks on Twitter, like it's crazy stuff, man. And a club as size as Liverpool Football Club should not be going through things like that, Raphael. I'm sorry, man. Like, you know,
I agree 100%.
The sell to buys and all that stuff you normally tell us, like, and it's just, it's all risk based, bro. It's all like, it's weird, like, and the worst part of it is some people actually defend things like this, and we should not be going through things like that. We're Liverpool Football Club, for crying out loud, guys. You know, come on, man.
I really
we should be competing. Go on, Raphael.
The sell to buy model really had potential to work long term, but it was completely and solely based off of fleecing somebody for 100 mil every couple years, and that's essentially like all we become is a Dortmund with a Champions League legacy.
Yeah.
Like, and that's not. That's just not what we want to be.
1 second, let me just read Redbird. He said that, do you think Klopp's too loyal to some of these players? Some of the players, sorry. Yes, I think so.
Oh yeah.
I think he definitely was, wasn't he? I think he's trying to come away from that, but he definitely was. But coming back to your point then, Raf, on FSG and the sell to buy model, do you think English sport, especially football, because of how the transfer markets work, do you think that's probably the only sport where sell to buy can only work so far, and then once you become too big, it then isn't, because obviously in America it's different in it. You have drafts and you have things where you do swap deals rather than transfer markets and stuff. So I think there's the sports that they're intertwined in with in America can be a little bit different when it comes to transfer markets and contracts and things like that. However, obviously within European football and just football in general, you have an asset, it's worth a lot of money, well, it's worth whatever you want it to be worth, and then you go and sell it. Do you think sell to buy then can reach that peak point once you hit success? So you hit the Champions League, you win the Premier League, all those assets that you planned on selling are now actually the keystone to your success. So now it's a case of sell them, try and rebuild for the next 4 to 5 years, but you might not have any success, or keep them, and now I'm going to have to invest my own money to sustain success. Because it feels like that's what it gets to in European sport. You get to a point where you get to it, and it's like, right, we've reached the pinnacle. Sell to buy has got us exactly where we need to be, and now we need to invest our own money to carry this on. And I just don't think they were willing to do that, really, as businessmen.
No. Yeah, I think they wanted to use the sell to buy model to sustain a little bit longer. And I was telling this to Fozzie in the space the other day, is that, like, football just moves faster than that. Like, it just does. Sports in America tend to be on like a 15 to like 20-year finance cycle, and right now, the profit margins in the NBA are the highest, even with them paying some of the highest salaries. But the thing, I think the caveat with the sell to buy model that FSG didn't completely calculate for is the fact that a sell to buy model really only works in American sports because you never really completely lose a player on the free. You lose a player on the free, but there's a benefit to that in terms of your salary cap. That salary cap is off the books. And in football, it's a bit different because you lose a player on the free, that salary's off the books. Yeah, you lowered your wage bill, but there is no team genuine benefit from losing a player on the free.
Everybody comes with a fee, don't they? Not
exactly.
There's no swap deals. When was the last time we saw when was the last time we saw a straight swap deal in football? I couldn't even tell you the last one I saw.
Never in my life.
Everybody comes with a fee, and when we won that Champions League in 2019, FSG's model has actually killed them because of how good they were at it.
Yeah,
they are their own downfall, and it's a shame because I think up until winning that Champions League and Premier League, they were brilliant in what they did, and they had the perfect team around us. And
everybody was looking at us, Ryan. Everybody was looking at us.
Exactly,
we set the standards.
You can thank them for making sure that we had the best people in their jobs at Liverpool Football Club. But again, as Michael Edwards and Ian Graham and all these people who have left have probably said the same as what we're saying now to the owners, this isn't American sport. This is football. This is European sport. Everything comes with a fee, and you have to pay those fees. Exactly. If you have nothing to sell, the money's got to come from elsewhere. Whether it's a loan, whether it's your own pockets, it has to come from somewhere elsewhere. because there is nobody in European sport that's going to turn around and go, "Yeah, Sam, you take my asset for free, mate. No worries." That's not how it works, you know.
Yeah,
it's a completely different ballpark than I think.
Yeah.
Do you think Raf and Foz? Do you think they've potentially scared themselves getting into European sport? Do you think they've actually looked at football and thought,
I think they had a plan.
It's a bit of a bigger world than we thought. This.
Right, I think they had a plan in place because of the FFP and all that stuff. You know what I mean? They thought of the Super League probably in the future and all that stuff. But I honestly think, I don't know what you think, Raphael. The pandemic has caused a lot of problems for them. I honestly think that. I don't know what you think about that, Raphael.
I think it's the fact that like COVID and the pandemic completely shifted the football financial market. It can shifted their income a bit, and I don't think anyone in football predicted the market to rebound the way it did. Like, do you realize how many 100 million pound players that we had pre-pandemic versus post-pandemic?
Oh my!
And it's even a player for over the 80 million mark. That used to be a proven player. Now that's a young lad who has potential. Essentially, when you even look at the fee that João Felix went for. Yeah. A lot of that was his potential, but it's the market is shifting, man.
Raf, look at Eden Hazard. Eden Hazard last year on his deal at Chelsea, really good form, £80 million. Sadio Mane last year of his deal at Liverpool, really good form. Ballon d'Or second place, by the way, £30 million. You know, 50 million pounds to FSG is a lot of bloody money, a lot of money.
Guys, as I said on there, where is our next win coming from? Because I can't see it. I could listen. Everton's coming to Anfield in the next game. Let me share it with you. They got a new manager in, and you know the negative football that he plays, and he's majority of the time he does against Liverpool, and we struggle against his teams, as you both are aware of that. Can we get a win against Everton, or is it going to be tough in that game to get a win? Ryan, you go ahead, brother.
I think if we're going to get a win, it probably needs a game like this. If you can't get yourself up for a Merseyside derby in front of 50-odd thousand fans and just muster some form of effort and desire, then you know we've got bigger issues than probably what we all think. Like, and we already think the issues are big, but if you can't get yourself up for a Merseyside derby Monday night under the Anfield lights, you've got massive issues that we probably can't even comprehend. But if they can get themselves up, and I do believe they will, if they can get themselves up for it, and they're building confidence, they're building desire, then ultimately their qualities on the football that we know they have will show, and we are a better footballing side than Everton. It's as simple as that. You know, Arsenal for spells against Everton were really, really good and should have scored at least 2 goals. Arsenal just couldn't muster it at the end because they just didn't have that extra little bit of fight. And to be fair, 12:30 kickoff, Goodison Park, new manager bounce, coming all the way from London. You know, how many times have we seen Liverpool get rolled over at 12:30 because of the kickoff and stuff like that? It happens. Yeah. But this is Sean Dyche coming away from home, Merseyside derby, second game, underneath the Anfield lights. If Liverpool can get themselves up for it and there is some fight and grit and desire, and the fan base and the squad become one together again with the manager slap bang in the middle of it, our quality will show and we'll win the game. But my worry is worry is the players building up to the fans and getting everybody on board and showing that heart and desire and work rate. That's my bigger worry for this game. I'm not too worried about the result. My worry is, am I going to be able to connect with my Liverpool team again that I see on Monday? Because a Merseyside derby means fucking everything to us.
Everything, bro.
And it needs to mean everything to the team. Because if we get turned over by Everton, my week's ruined. Absolutely ruined.
Yeah.
And there was a time when I believe the players felt the same as us, and I believe they still do. But if I watch the same dross on Monday night at home to Everton, and I watch us get turned over with a lack of fight and desire, it's honest, mate, it's going to absolutely kill me.
Yeah, Raphael,
I still love him, but
we all do.
I see.
There's
a caveat to this. Looking at the fixtures, I see. My biggest hope is the next win will be honestly Bournemouth, and we can get a few draws in between there, because it can literally be on. This can get into an ugly slide. But I'm hoping Jurgen does something that we haven't seen out of him in a few years. Is kind of like the third round FA Cup a couple years ago, when we put the kids out there, we beat Everton 1-0. Because at this point, it's a passion job, not a technical one.
Yeah, definitely.
And that's my hope. Honestly, I hope he puts a mixed 11 out there. Honestly, I would be okay with a midfield three of. Ooh.
You've not got a great pool of players to pick from, right?
No, yeah, man. Honestly, I wanted to go kid heavy. I could definitely see Bajcetic and Henderson in the side, because Bajcetic has a bit more of the legs. He still has a bit of the academy desire in him to go and run about the pitch a bit. I definitely would start Bendo just to drop something in there, just to see what Mo Salah has. Because honestly, as much as I would love for Mo Salah to come off the bench and bang versus Everton, even start versus Everton, I need him firing on absolutely all cylinders when we play Madrid. I need him pissed off. I need him angry, because Madrid are in terrible form right now.
Would you, Raphael? Would you guys go stinky football, like boring football to get a win, like counter attack, defensive, ultra defensive, something like that?
I think there's a part of us that might have to. We're going to be coming up against Doucouré, a Trezeguet, Onana, and a Iwobi.
That work rate is insane.
And that, exactly. That is legs and work rate, heart, and desire. We have to match that. Whether it means we go long, we pump it up to Darwin, we make him chase loose ends, and we sit there and we could after whatever it is, sound. But that is a midfield four that right now is terrifying to come up against for Liverpool because of our current situation. Nothing to do with their quality on the ball. I don't think their quality even compares to Liverpool's players on the ball.
Of course.
However, at our moment, as Raf said, it's just yards. It's just fight and desire that we're missing out on. All we need to see on Monday is that kilometres meter go up above 17k, and we might have half a chance. But if we go and throw again a lackluster slap midfield like up against those three, they're just going to pile drive us. Absolutely pile drive us.
Let me just read Redbird's obviously comment. He says, Joe Gomez, I can't defend, so I'll do the twerk. What a jerk. We should have sold him to Aston Villa. We couldn't even give him away if we tried. Joe Gomez, I think it's a bit harsh on him, like the way people are reacting. I don't think he's a centre-back, guys. I honestly don't think he's a centre-back. I think he's a full-back trying to be a centre-back, and everybody is just taking out on him because of that. I don't know. Listen, at the end of the day, I've always said it. Joe Gomez is not a centre-back, guys. Like, in order for you to be a centre-back, and you know it, Ryan, as a coach, and Rafael obviously watch games, you have to be brave, and he's not brave. That's the thing with him. You know what I mean? He loses in the air. He loses balls on the floor. He doesn't win many challenges when you have to. You know what I mean? And if you haven't got those kind of abilities on the pitch, then that's not for you. You know what I mean? Just cover Trent as a right back or something. You know what I mean? Just stay there.
The one thing I say about Joe Gomez, and I've been a fan in the past, and I've been quite open and honest that I've not been a fan the past couple of years, is you look at Aaron Wan-Bissaka at Manchester United, and he gets, plaudits for his recovery defending and his slide tackling. And anyone who knows about football knows that that's not a great start. That means you've done something wrong.
Yes.
Coming up to that moment, if your recovery stats and slide tackles are high, that's because you fucked up in the previous moment.
Exactly, brother.
Joe Gomez's strength, we all come back to it now. We're all saying it on Spaces. We're all saying it on Twitter. Joe Gomez's strength was his recovery pace. Back in the day, and he's lost that because of his injuries. Again, though, if we're gonna tarnish Aaron Wan-Bissaka with it, we also have to look at our own. And it's correct. Joe Gomez's weakness was his reading of the game and was his front foot defending. He was really, really good with recovery pace for the mistakes he made because he was an
which used to get
athlete.
Which used to get him out of trouble. The
recovery.
Yeah. That's what
him and Virgil, the season we won the Champions League, and the Premier League, they were unreal athletes. Mm-hmm. So Joe Gomez was allowed to do the recovery side of the game because he was an unreal athlete. And then you've got Virgil van Dijk, who's a master of the game, just telling you what to do 24/7.
Yeah.
As people always say in football, always trust the defender when he's got to play without his partner. That's when you get to know a true centre half. And unfortunately, Joel Matip and Joe Gomez have probably shown, especially Joel, that this past couple of weeks they're probably not quite there, to go and play without a leader. And that's no slander to them. Be like, right, you can never play for Liverpool Football Club again. Because all of us have players in our careers where they just can't quite cut it on their own because they're just not a natural born leader, whatever it is. That's sound. However, there does get to a point where you're like, well, you can't afford them. You need at least two leaders who are going to be constantly available and fit. And currently, they're both out. And it's just if it rains, it pours.
It pours, man. Raphael, what do you think of him, man?
The thing is, Ryan was spot on, and I think, like when you go back to like the 18-19 and the 19-20 season. When I think about Joe Gomez, he was always one. Then it looked as if he would bait the defender to take the out, and then he would show off his recovery pace and get in position and then make an okay decision.
Yes.
And now you could tell he doubts his recovery pace because he's unsure whether to let them turn or to try to get ahead and prevent it. And especially as the right-sided center back, your decision-making has to be better than your technical ability and your pace. Because you're not also you're tactically covering for Trent, and if that right center mid isn't getting back, and sometimes that's Harvey, sometimes that's Endo, and even Nabi, they're gonna leave you out to dry. So sometimes
100% right, brother.
It's often 100%. Sometimes that right side center back is stuck, which is why I think the team looks so comfortable when Ibu's on the right and Verge is on the left, because there's enough trust to say,
they just sweep everything up.
Exactly.
Yes, sir.
He can handle it.
Yes, sir.
And I think the situation with Joe Gomez, he's short on the center back half because he's not brave enough, and his decision making and reaction time isn't quick enough now.
Raphael, you know what I look at in a player is the off the ball work. His positioning is awful. If you look at the first goal, guys, you see how far he was Matip. He was far away. So if the ball came after Matip, anyone could have just tapped it in. You know what I mean? Come on, bro. Put yourself in position.
Arsenal away, 3-3.
Oh.
Do you remember the goal he conceded at the back post?
Yeah.
That's a mistake from 2016, 2017. We're in 2023.
Oh my God!
And those mistakes are still being made.
Doesn't learn, man.
He doesn't have the defensive awareness yet, and I think part of that is because when you play and partner with a guy like Virgil, he's gonna cover up from where you come short, so you don't necessarily have.
You don't have to think. He tells you everything.
Exactly. Yes. You don't have that learning curve to figure out when you need to make those decisions on your own, as you see with Joel as well. And I think it's I honestly don't even think Joe Gomez has enough to cut as a right back, because he has a bit of pace, but all three of us have seen his final ball delivery, and it's just not there. He's not.
I think it's
I don't think he's that bad.
It's slightly improved, isn't it? But if he's getting in the way of Calvin Ramsey, for example, that's a £25 million. I'll say you sat on there.
Yeah, and even in that situation, when you look at someone who's going to put in a shift on both ends of the pitch and actually going to give you a little bit of quality, I would even start to maybe give Owen Beck a game or two, because then he get recalled from loan. So when you even start to think about it from that perspective, it's you don't necessarily have what it takes to compete as a center half or as a fullback in the squad. And I don't see us going to a back three, because I think that's him and Joe's best positions as a center back right now in the back three. But they need Virgil Ibu in the center to kind of help marshal them a little bit. But I still don't think that works. So
Nah.
Yeah,
I can't do with back three. We used to play that with Roy Evans, and it was bad because
No.
they used to get doubled up on the wing, innit? The right back and the winger. So one person is facing them, and the centre back has to come out of position, and there's a big gap in the middle. I mean, that's what you got to look at when you play
that's
three at the
it.
back.
If you've already got a Trent and a Joe Gomez and a Robertson who have already been exposed for being defensively unaware of what's behind,
Exactly.
the last thing you want to do is expose them even more to it. You know, just asking for murder.
That's I'm done with Liverpool. We're gonna have to talk about one thing, then we go, guys. I'm sorry I left you guys. Let's see what South Africa is saying. Thiago, Ox, Keita, Firmino, Fabinho, Arthur, Matip, Jones, Milner, Henderson, Jota, Salah, all out there. Done. Time to refresh. I don't know about some of the players, but I agree with.
There's a few, and
there's a few.
I presume we're just playing 7-a-side next season for getting rid of that many.
Honestly. But I've been people. I mean, I won't say I'm a massive hater, but you can even go back in my tweets. I've been pushing this since 2021. I need to get Matip out my club.
I think we're over relying on a guy who's not gonna cut it anymore. That's what it is, bro.
Yeah,
that's what it is.
Joe and Matip, and once again, we're back in this situation where we got to correct. We need more midfielders, and then we also need
defenders. 100%.
The defense is as big as a worry as the midfield.
100%. 100%. Okay, guys, we're in the last bit. Sorry to interrupt, guys. I apologize. We're in the last bit, so let's do it. So, Manchester City have been charged, obviously, with breaking the financial rules once again, but this time it's from the Premier League. What do you think, Ryan? How's it gonna go this time compared to what we saw when UEFA obviously charged them?
Well, I think the slight difference you've got this time is obviously they're not able to appeal in the in the courts. So it's got to be either an independent regulator or they have to appeal straight to the Premier League. And if you're appealing against somebody who's spent 4 years to try and throw you under the bus, they're probably not then going to turn around and go, "Yeah, we forgot it all." It's a terrible look for them, from the Premier League's point of view.
Yeah.
Now, I don't think they're going to get found guilty for all 100 and odd cases. If we're being realistic, that's probably not going to be the case. I think the way this plays out is it's all now for Manchester City. How many of them can they get away with to keep those persecutions down? But this is the thing, and someone was on about it the other day. Manchester City have been a huge advert for the Premier League these past couple of years. They still live off the Aguero moment now, the Premier League. It's on every bleeding advert, and it happened 12 years ago.
Yeah.
So if you throw them under the bus and you sanction them, which is correct, it's good regulating, sound, whatever, what you have to remember is how far can you actually go with it before it starts becoming detrimental to your own league? Can you kick them out of the Premier League, if we're being honest? Can you take their titles away from them? Take that Aguero moment away from Sky Sports? Can you really do that? Can you really do that? Because obviously we would straight away. The cheats. It's as simple as that. We should have more Premier League titles. Other teams, by the way, who would have got a Champions League spot over them, they can feel harsh done by. Teams who could have picked up points against them, who ended up getting relegated because they smashed them 8-9-0 at the Etihad. They could have gone and got, they could have stayed up, and you are now talking nearly £1 billion has probably been missed out for clubs over that £12 year period. So there's such a big argument to go, you need to throw the book at them and more. Theoretically, this club shouldn't exist anymore after the shit it's done. However, those who are putting those sanctions, the Premier League, are they really going to do that? Are they really going to do that? The amount of money that Manchester City brings to the Premier League, are they really going to relegate them? Are they really going to throw them to League Two, if we're being honest, guys?
No.
Are they going to want a Haaland and KDB out of the Premier League? I don't think so.
What angered me? Go on, Rafael. Go on, Rafael.
I don't know if they're really that good of rapport, though, because at least I can't. I can speak for over here. Like, there's some interest in City, not a ton. There's a lot of Arsenal, United, some Chelsea fans, but there's a lot of Liverpool supporters here, and I think it's very also tell the true commercial impact of the City windfall, depending on how the breaches are going. Because if they're going on, they're spending an FFP, but they're also exploiting some inflated sponsorship deals.
Yeah,
You start to question the commercial value of the club as a whole.
Yeah,
because
I think the big one as well is not complying with the investigation, isn't it? I think that's what's really angered the Premier League.
So, like, when you start to look at this, you could probably look at, like, and so the way I look at it is what's the most realistic situation. They threw everything on the board and they're hoping some sticks. But I think transfer ban possibly and a big points deduction. But see, the thing is, I don't think what the Prem and the FA will do, I think they'll strip the titles, but they won't name a winner. Which,
to be honest, Raphael, to be honest, Raphael, I said I don't need it. I don't, because on the Premier League's watch, these things has been happening. Because it's not just Man City. What about the other teams that's been doing the same thing as them, like Chelsea that started it off with all this financial stuff? You got rid of Abramovich, but you haven't punished the team. You just got rid of an owner. What about the team? Like, if you're going down that route, should it apply the same to that as well? Like, the team should be punished as well as the owner.
Do you think,
because they got titles with dirty money? You get what I'm saying, guys?
Do you think, Foz? Do you think after today they're guilty anyway? Whether they get found guilty or not, they're guilty to the court of public. Because nobody in world football now is going to go, oh yeah, they did that fair. Even if they got away with it, everyone's response would be, well, you've just paid them backhanders. Yeah. So I think in the court of public jury, I think all of us now probably look at it, don't we, and think, well, yeah, you were cheating. We knew you were cheating when you did it, and now you've been confirmed. So to us, to football fans, to City fans, Tottenham fans, Liverpool fans, Chelsea fans, United fans, we all know what you did. We all know you're guilty. If you get hit with sanctions, sound. If you don't mean shit. We know you're guilty.
So I got a question for you guys. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Brian. Go finish.
No, go on, Raf. Go on.
So do you think if the sanctions come down and they're stripped the points, transfer ban, and they strip the titles, let's just say, does that make you look back on the Klopp era differently?
I'm already looking at it differently because I'm looking back and thinking we have done so well to compete with them with what we were under.
Exactly.
Jurgen Klopp has competed with cheaters. Bear in mind,
let's be careful what we say here. They still haven't been convicted on
anything. Allegedly. But Jurgen Klopp has competed with the same budget as Middlesbrough, has competed against what has been the richest, not football, the richest sporting organisation there has ever been, that still had to cheat themselves, allegedly.
Exactly.
Still had to cheat themselves, and he has still beat them. And not just that, won the Premier League the earliest anyone's ever done it against these cheating, institution. Now, forget the trophies that he should have won. Just to do that alone, for me, it absolutely cements the argument that Klopp is better than Pep Guardiola.
Oh,
absolutely cements it. Jurgen Klopp isn't just a football coach and a football manager and a football tactician. Jurgen Klopp is the embodiment of what is an absolute god among men in what
we've got to talk in this. We've got to talk about that in spaces, bro. We've got today. We've got to talk about that. We have
to talk about this in this space.
We've got to talk about that because a lot of people have a doubt on our manager and they putting him out there in a bad way. And if this comes true,
if you have got any doubt over Jurgen Klopp now as a Liverpool supporter, I don't want to hear from you. And I'm not one of these who disregards people's opinions, as you know, Foz. Our spaces tonight is give the fans a voice. We're all here for everyone. But in my opinion, personally, I don't see where you find an argument against Jurgen
There's
Klopp.
nothing, bro. There is nothing, mate.
No.
Say for example, you guys are painters and decorators, right? And you're painting in a bedroom. You've got a brand new set of paint and you've got a brand new set of brushes. Made an amazing job with your bedroom. 10 years on, you've got the same paint that's nearly run out, and you've got the same brushes, and you've done a crap job because all your tools have worn out.
Yeah.
What do you expect? What did you expect?
Yeah,
You've seen what he's done when he's got a brilliant set of tools.
Mm-hmm.
So here's one for you. Give him them tools again, he'll produce the same. To even think about turning on Jurgen Klopp when we've got an 18-year-old who's played less than 10 games, a lad who's serving his notice period with 6 months left, and a Thiago who's already worn out for playing too many games, as your midfield three, and you're wondering why you can't get wins. Come on, man! Don't be crazy. Don't be crazy.
I think like what we need to understand is before these problems at Liverpool, so we call it problems, obviously. A lot of people was like commending Jurgen Klopp for what he's done in the football game, especially like competing with was it limited resources? That's what they used to call it, limited resources. And now we forgot about that. Now we're just punishing him because of like what's happening and all that stuff. But
they did it the Van Dijk season.
Yeah,
when we got Fulham at home.
Yeah,
Klopp out. What do you mean Klopp out? He's got Fabinho.
He was just building. Yeah. Man. But Raphael, you put a good point there, bro. Like, a lot of people are gonna probably regret what they said,
and a lot of people aren't gonna like it. But I think, if you completely nip the entire Man City cheating thing in the bud and it doesn't happen, we trade titles the last 6 years with United. We win in 13-14. United wins 17-18. We win in 18-19.
City.
And so like it's that completely paints a different landscape for the league.
Yeah. But do you guys think something's gonna happen this time compared to the UEFA one, Ryan? Do you think Raphael? Sorry.
Yeah, I think because the Prem is kind of like, well, we set the rules. Yeah. And it's really going to be completely based on the limits that the rules are already in place of how far back they can go, because that's really what screwed UEFA is the fact that the investigation took longer than the allotted time that you can cover.
It clips the time in it. It had a time limit on it or something.
And so that's exactly why they got it out of it with the court arbitration of court.
Whereas this is a 4-year investigation that's still ongoing. Exactly. So you can't hit someone with 100 and odd sanctions and then just go. Do you also think though, Ryan and Raphael, the reason it can't be a reason, but the reason these things are happening now is because they want to get a grip of their league. The way it's turning out it's becoming less interesting as well, isn't it? It's becoming less interesting because the same teams can win the league titles in the near future. Now Newcastle come into the equation as well. Yeah. They're spending like that as well. And now you see Chelsea spending a lot of money at the same time. I think there's a part of that, but there was also a white papers report was supposed to come out tomorrow, which is the Premier League sort of like rule changes and things like that. And there's apparently talks of reintroducing a independent governing body of like the Premier League rules and the Premier League owners. That's now been delayed. So it's a bit convenient that these sanctions have come out and then you've delayed the governing body. So you've delayed this brand new governing independent body. Yeah. It feels like there's a reason that it's all come out right now. And obviously over the next couple of days and weeks and years and months, we'll get to learn and discover more. But there's definitely a reason behind timing it, because they've not finished it today, by the way. The investigation hasn't just finished today. They're now going over 2018 to 2023. Yeah. So it's been going 4 years. They planned on it even going further, but something has made them go, no, you need it out today. That has to go out this week. Yeah. And
I think the Prem is scared. I really do think the Prem is scared because obviously, like we seen what the Abramovich era did at Chelsea. And after Bowley's first 2 windows, he put all of Europe on notice. And so you couple that with the perceived track record of City right now, the alleged track record of City, the 2 craziest transfer windows Chelsea ever experienced, on top with the owners at Newcastle and with the potential Middle Eastern interest in United and Liverpool, they said, okay, this can get out of hand.
Yes.
And so let's try to figure out if there's something that we can do.
You actually start to look like the thing you were protesting against. You start to look like a Super League. And you can't look like a Super League because then all the Spanish teams and the Italian teams go, oh, hold the phone. You were against the Super League and you've made your own, you bastards.
They're starting to... I really think at the top, they're starting to realize that 1992 was not as well thought out of a decision.
Spot on.
And it's grown way too quick for them. Way too quick for them.
Because originally it was a fair playing field, wasn't it? It was a fair playing field for every club, but it's not turning out that way anymore, is it? Now stuff is happening like this. Like Redbird says, like City apparently commercial earnings, world football. I mean, like they're the biggest in the world football. How is that happening? They can't even fill their stadium. You know what I mean? Like what the heck is going on?
Manchester City have tickets every single game, European nights on general sale. Yet they make the most commercial money in the world. Have a lot, you know.
Man, we were talking in Spaces, and they were talking about uni days where they would go to the social center at the university to get free city tickets.
Yeah.
I
used to work at a school about 10 yards, 15 yards, if that. You could see the stadium outside the window, and you'd get free tickets every single day. You'd get tickets for the youth games, and then you'd get tickets for the adult game. So if you had like like how your youth team play the equivalent of the first team in the Champions League. So if City have got Juventus, the under-19s will play Juventus. You used to get free tickets for the youth game, and then you'd get free tickets for the first game. And listen, that's a brilliant scheme, of course. But, and this is where Manchester City fans need to be careful, that scheme isn't put in place because you're doing well for the community. That scheme is put in place because your fans won't buy the ticket. It's because you can't get rid of them.
Right, I swear I've heard Raheem Sterling went to schools and gave out free tickets to the students or something like that. That's what I've heard a few seasons back. They do that all the time.
Rashford does it to be fair and things like that. And listen, like those ones are slightly different because that's a player buying those tickets out of their own money and then going and giving it to the fans. However, these school schemes, they're not because the club want to be seen good in the light or, because the club are like, well, no, let's get more school kids into the ground. It's because they literally could not get rid of the tickets because you would turn up and there'd still be tickets on general sale for that game.
I've even heard that Champions League game we beat them, a few seasons back when we won. I think we lost to Real Madrid. I've heard there was a lot of empty seats in that game as well, and they had to get rid of those tickets.
And listen, to be fair to them, they've got a decent away following. The old main
away followers are like limited in a way, bro. You know what I mean? There's not a lot of people that go.
Exactly.
But they have. Yeah.
There's too much. There's way too much smoke this time, isn't there? To not be a lot of fire, kind of thing.
Before we go, Ryan, you said something to me earlier in the phone call we had, like about FSG if this falls off. Can you explain that, please, before we go?
So my
sorry, Raphael.
My thinking is, and to be fair, Raf could probably make a point on this. I think I mentioned it in the group chat before. My thought is, I think this now puts FSG on the back burner of selling the club. I think they really firmly pull on the brakes because one thing they've wanted since day one of coming in is financial fair play to be really stomped on. And if this is going to go ahead with Manchester City, obviously the Premier League have this in idea. 2, you've got the potential of Manchester City, who are your biggest competitors for success over the past couple of years. You've got the potential of them soon disappearing and losing their top manager, losing their top players. So with a little bit of investment, you could now create a dynasty, which means constant prize money. I'll be honest with you, I don't want to come across as an FSG lover because I'm not. I think you'd be absolutely foolish to sell Liverpool now.
Yeah.
If you're on Liverpool Football Club.
Yeah, 100%, brother.
The only thing that makes me still considering they'll still go ahead with the sell of the club is because as of right now, there's no guarantee of any rule changes. Because even with this Chelsea thing, UEFA said something about it first. The Prem hasn't moved anything. So, like, I still think there's a ways away before, like, we get a new evolved version of FFP. Like you said, they even put, like, this Gary Neville independent regulator thing. It's finally at the point where it's ready to almost be rolled out. And I think that that may be the independent regulator's first task of doing a lot of collective research all the way down to grassroots football, even at the top flight, to combining all the data to figure out, okay, what is the best situation of trickle down economics where we can still support the grassroots, will still allow our big clubs in the country to still be big clubs. And I think a lot of the finances around football are going to shift, but I still don't think FSG are in a position where they want to completely ditch the sale of the club. I will admit it might delay it because it buys them a little more time for what they want to do for the basketball team here in America.
That's what I mean, Raf. I mean, when I say delay, I don't mean in the sense of like they'll stop anything. I feel like it'll now sway them even more to go partial sale rather than full sale, so they can just continue to bide their time and bide their time.
Look at it. We're in a bad position now, are we, guys? Like, compared to other teams like who took those risks. You know what I mean? So it's not bad. It's not bad. Redbird says, first time catching you live, guys. Though I'll watch your replays. All good shows. Thank you very much, brother. I mean, we try to bring the best. We're back to doing chat shows again. And that's what we covered today, people. Let me come back to you guys. Don't go anywhere. Yeah, let me just come back to you guys. Yeah. Yes, people, thank you for tuning in. I know I've done it spontaneously. I just threw it out there to do a chat show at 6 o'clock. Much appreciated to Raphael and Ryan, of course. They're going to be regulars in this channel. We're going to be regulars for the Reds as well, Ryan's channel. So please tune into that one, subscribe to that one as well. Ryan, take it away. Where can they find you?
You can find me at For the Reds YouTube, and even better, you can find me at For the Reds Twitter tonight, where Raf and Foz will both be in our usual Monday night spaces, 8 till 10 p.m, and our Wednesday night spaces, 8 till 10 p.m. It's the best spaces on Twitter, and these two have vouched for it. Everyone gets a word. We mediate it really well. Me and Foz co-host it. Like I said, it's no shouting matches. It's no slandering players. It is just genuine adult conversation about our beloved club, and it is definitely the place to be in about half an hour's time.
Man, you can find me on Twitter at Big Guy T. I'm always in and out of spaces, always supporting Ryan and Fozzie. I'm always there to have a chat. I run a few spaces, sometimes a halftime space, but I'll probably be hosting a few more analytical and tactical breakdown spaces here coming soon.
Heard the boys. Obviously, I'm gonna take a time out to do like shows again, but I'll do the reviews and previews as when I'm working and all that stuff. But much appreciated to both of the guys, and much appreciated for all the people that actually tuned in. Thank you very much, and we hope to see you soon, everybody. Take care, yeah. Take care, everybody.